This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom. I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow. Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce.
With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done.
Because the system has to collapse before that.
My corona.
Cheers. I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried, and this is to Punk Ape Strong. Punk Ape Strong, and I want to congratulate you very sincerely. It's exciting news. You made it to the cover of Boring Stone magazine. Boring Stone. You're the man of the year, as a matter. You're the man of the decade. You are the man of the century for Boring Stone. And now you play guitar, and what did the guitar say to the guitar player? Stop picking on me. But it's not that good. Anyway, you're a washed-up old punk. You're into punk music. Oh, how cute. And so old-fashioned. And now, but Boring Stone sucks. Punk rock sucks. Apes suck. And most importantly, you suck. Punk Ape Strong.
Boom. Welcome to Blockchain Booze number 108. I had to play that because I meant to play it last episode because I think the day of or the day before last episode, Gilbert Gottfried passed away, which is a major bummer. But thankfully, somebody had that made and sent it to me before he passed away. And, for those of you who don't know, Punk Ape Strong is my alter ego, this guy. It keeps covering Diego's face. Sorry, Diego. But welcome to Blockchain Booze number 108. I'm excited to have the crew from Autonomy on today. I guess before we get started, though, if you're joining us on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you can jump into meet.blockchainbooze.io and actually hang out with the community, ask questions, jump into the QA, and when we're done, even turn on your camera and hang out with the community yourself. We will be hanging with the Autonomy crew, but I'll also be taking questions. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by all these comments already coming in. But also, I wanted to thank Blockchain Radio for having us and playing these episodes every single time, and of course, Lunar Crush, who streams this on their YouTube or on their Twitter and all that. And yes, my mom responded, yes, that was real. That was Gilbert Gottfried making fun of your son. Sorry, I'm reading the comments here. So James, Diego, welcome to Blockchain Booze. Cheers. I need to hear. Why don't we start with you, James? I wanna hear your background and what brought you to this space before we jump into what autonomy is, and guys could educate us.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. It sucks Gilbert passed, but I guess he's in meme heaven now. But yeah, my background is essentially I was a physics student in Canada at UBC, which is actually where I met Diego. And yeah, basically was doing that. But last bull run kind of showed me the light, so to speak, just because like the pace of crypto is just like so insane. It's, like people are getting hacked and people are raising all this money and like people building all this cool shit. And kind of in contrast, I was like in the final year of my degree, working in a quantum computing lab, which like on paper was like the best thing I could want. But the pace was so slow, and just like compared to crypto, it's just like I basically dropped out in my final year to go full-time crypto, doing like chain analysis work, not for chain analysis, but a similar company. Clients were like the FBI and banks and that kind of thing. Then after that, worked for like Dapper Labs, implementing proof of stake in Flow. And then some like cross-chain dexes and like a bunch of other projects like Chainflip. Then yeah, pretty much had the idea in 2019, but didn't really do anything with it. And kind of after DeFi summer happened, it was like very obvious that this infrastructure is needed, and so pretty much started just after DeFi summer.
That's awesome. Diego, can you give us a little bit of your background?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, first of all, like great intro. Thank you for having us. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I met. My background is in business and computer science, specifically more finance and computer science. Yeah, met James back in Canada, and unlike him, I took a more traditional path. Otherwise, my parents would have disowned me. So yeah, you know, finished like did school, like went through the traditional software engineering path, worked at a few startups, then went on to you know, big tech, worked at IBM, Amazon. But again, yeah, like James said, the pace was too slow. I wasn't really, you know, working that much because I would always be like, you know, playing around with like DeFi stuff on the side. You know, it's something that I really like to do. Contributed to a few open source projects. You know, built a few things here and there. And then yeah, James sort of like James sort of came up one day with this idea, and you know, it was something that would have honestly saved me a lot of trouble and pain, you know, throughout DeFi summer. And you know, then you know, we sort of started this. I think it's been a year this month now. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys, well, James, you're in Berlin for ETH Berlin right now, and Diego, you're on the way there. Did it start yet? It has, or it's about to.
It's
about to. Yeah, ETH Amsterdam. It's there's like side events going on right now. The main hackathon's at the weekend, but there's like Dev Connect throughout the week.
Nice, very cool. So tell me, I guess, you know, autonomy at a very high level is there. If I understood the basic premise, is there to speed up, you know, the dev process, the building process of building dApps on Ethereum or on EVMs.
Yeah, exactly. Like anytime you need something to be automated or triggered in some way by some event. I mean, even super simple use cases like recurring payments, like something that we just take for granted as just like we expect it. So it's like a basic feature in banking apps and that kind of thing. These things aren't possible without something triggering the blockchain. So yeah, it's basically like an off-the-shelf pre-made tool so that you don't have to run any bots. You don't have to maintain servers or anything. If you want to write a dApp that uses these kinds of features, like limit orders and stop losses for like dexes or like recurring payments if you're a DAO and things like that.
Oh, very cool. So a lot of these things are built out of the box, and then you guys created a way in which to call on them. Is it kind of like an API, or is it kind of pre-built tools that you give, the code to? How exactly does it work, I guess?
Yeah, so like everything's like on chain, which is like that's how it's like fully decentralized, and that's how these conditions are kind of forced. There's like smart contract logic that means that your request, which like say it's a limit order, sell X for Y at Z price, like it's impossible to execute your request unless like the price is above Z. And so yeah, the way, like if you're a developer, the way you basically automate something is by creating a condition contract around some system. So like if you wanted to add it to like Uniswap, like we did. You create a condition contract that calls Uniswap but adds this extra condition, and that's like quite low level, like as a developer. But there's some like we are just like in the process of launching this thing called Automation Station, which is like a no-code way of automating something. So essentially, you just paste in an address for like a contract that you want to automate calling, like say it's like rebalancing a treasury like every day, or like distributing rewards, or like sniping an NFT or something like that. Then yeah, you can do it without having to be a developer. You don't need to write any Solidity. We have like SDKs as well for some of the like use case specific stuff, like limit orders and stop losses and that kind of thing. But I'd say automation stations are like the least code way.
Crispin in the audience is asking, are these tools audited yet? How have they been audited, and how used have they been so far?
Yeah, Autonomy itself has been live for like 8 months, 9 months, something like that.
Yeah, I think like 8 months now.
Yeah. And so Autonomy itself and the limit orders and stop losses, kind of all that code has been audited by 2 audit firms, Certic and God, Diego, what was the other one?
I keep forgetting that one.
By 2 firms, we could get it on your website, right?
Yeah. It's public.
It's a smaller one, but yeah, Certic and some other smaller one. They've been audited.
Is that the main use case? Is sort of for non-developer types? Is it a mix? Like, what's the SDK, and is it like JavaScript basic-ish stuff that accesses so you don't have to learn Solidity, or is it more in depth than that in terms of what you have to know to do? Right. Like I always joke that I'm a good enough engineer to break shit and modify stuff that already exists, but I'm not building a lot of stuff from scratch. Is it for somebody like me, or is it for somebody a little bit more advanced?
Well, there's different ways, right? So there's the whole like limit orders and stop losses, like with the SDK and such. You probably don't need any Solidity knowledge, although you probably need to know what the contract does in order to plug it in. It's mostly just like JavaScript and like this components and stuff. But we're also trying to appeal to the like the non-technical people with this thing like Automation Station, where you're able to sort of like we're gonna we have, and we're gonna add more sort of like preset automations that you can sort of like pick an address and then pick this preset automation, like for example a time condition, and you sort of like put them together, and then you now have this like recurring thing calling, and it all happens on a UI, and you literally just have to pick what you want and no code.
That's really, really cool. What are sort of, I guess, in terms of your users and the folks that are building on this, what is like maybe the most common use case that they use? Is it people doing, what you mentioned earlier, the stop loss, like DeFi type of trading products, or is it more NFTs, or what is it being used for the most at the moment?
I think so what we mostly have live is like the limits and stops, so that's certainly like our most kind of mature product, so to speak. Especially because like that has been and will be more integrated into various dexes. So like ApeSwap and SokuSwap and a few big ones that we can't name yet.
Is the idea that, you know, there's dexes all over the place now on the different EVMs, and you know, people using it in different places, so different products are sort of being built to do these kind of trading on different places, and people are building sort of niche sites. Like what's the main reason people are doing this?
Like why do the dexes want these features?
I mean, I get why the dexes themselves want these features, but are the dexes using Autonomy, or are people building and using Autonomy to create, I don't know, trading bots or easier to use interfaces than maybe the Uniswaps of the world? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to understand, I guess.
Yeah, nobody's using it for trading bots at the moment. It would be in that specific case, like trading bots that are purpose built for being trading bots typically operate kind of like with the mempool, or taking account for the mempool. You know, like they see an opportunity and they try and place their transaction like in a block relative to that.
Yeah, they're like arbitraging and front running.
Yeah, exactly. Or liquidations or whatever. But in the case of Autonomy, because it's like a fully generalized thing, it doesn't have. I mean, it's not built to be doing this like mempool kind of stuff, so it wouldn't be good as a trading bot yet. Well, let me rephrase that. It wouldn't be good as a trading bot that's competing against, you know, other bots that are purpose built for it. But if you wanted a trading bot that just implements a strategy, you know, like buy when the RSI is below something, or just like dollar cost average or something like that, then like you can 100% do that. Do that with Autonomy today. But yeah, I think it's like most people are definitely, most of the usage comes from these integrations into like existing dexes like ApeSwap, because, you know, they have like a lot of users already, and so us like trying to recreate that, which I mean, we have like a demo site, autoswap.trade, which, you know, has limits and stops on the like the chains that we operate on. But like, you know, having that site is essentially like competing as a DEX almost, because you know, you got to convince people to go to the UI, and you know, we're not like in the business of being a DEX, and like the maximum, you know,
you're creating the tools for people to, for example, actually maybe you guys can take over this if the answer is yes. But for example, I had created the first ever WordPress crypto exchange plugin. I think it was called like WP Crypto Exchange or WordPress Crypto Exchange, and I used Total, which was the first DEX aggregator, to allow people to basically very simply have a DEX on their website, put in their own contract, and collect a fee, like a percentage fee on the thing. And it was all powered by Total. But Total, moved on from this product, and it's not supported anymore. So I had to turn it off. But essentially, are you guys creating a DEX aggregators per chain, or at least giving the opportunity for people to tap into the DEX on different chains with your API? Essentially, like if I had a wallet app or a WordPress site with content, whatever, and I wanted to have a DEX on my site, I could use Autonomy to do that.
It wouldn't give the ability to have a DEX in the site, but it would give a plugin like that the ability to add like limit orders and stop losses and that kind of thing. So like,
it could live in an iframe or something, or take you to a different UI, to swap.alonsite.com, and I could swap on, you know, Smart Chain or on whatever you support. Does that make sense, or am I not understanding it? correctly?
Yeah, so we're not an aggregator, so
it would be on a specific DEX.
We can be on like arbitrarily many dexes. It's just like if the dex chooses to use us to add features like limits and stops. So if a plugin like you're describing, if it was still running, like you could choose to use Autonomy like right now to like add limits and stops to that. So that people could have this dex plugin that also didn't just swap but also did limits and stops as well.
I gotcha. So, okay, I think I understand. I'm gonna move on so I don't bore everybody else. But I have a question from David Rankin, and I don't fully David, I might make you hop on screen with me if I don't understand this question correctly. But they asked, it was a little bit on the conversation you mentioned earlier, but he said, what about minor extracted value issues on Ethereum-based chains with limit orders, etc.? Are you tapping into tools like Sushi for the limit orders? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, no, that makes sense. So like, he said, are you familiar with MEV, like minor extractable value?
Not enough at all, other than hearing the term and having smarter people than me explain it different times.
So yeah, I guess for you and any other listeners that are listening that don't they're not familiar with it. So minor extractable value is basically the value that a miner can extract from something that's on chain. So for example, like an arbitrage opportunity, you might have like 50 different bots all trying to exploit the same opportunity, say that they can make $100 from having their transaction be placed in the right place in a block. Miners ultimately have control over where transactions are placed. So no matter what else anyone tries, they can just like essentially veto, like, I'm mining this block, and so I'm going to put my transaction there, and I'm going to win the $100.
Yeah.
So like in the case of like Autonomy and like trading with like limits and stops, etc., there is no increase in MEV because like when you move a market, whether it's just a regular market order, like a regular swap on say Uniswap, or it's a limit order, you can think of a limit order as basically the exact same thing as a swap. I mean, it basically is a swap, just delayed until some certain condition, but you can achieve the same effect by just like waiting at your computer, right, and just like hitting swap when the price is what you want. So that there's no like increase or decrease in MEV in the case of like limits and stops. But interestingly, there are some cases where it's reduced or eliminated. So for example, like liquidations on lending platforms, when your collateral goes below the threshold, that like liquidations are have like a profit opportunity, and so there's all these like bots competing, and therefore there's MEV opportunity. With Autonomy, you can essentially create like self liquidations. So say like the liquidation ratio, like percent is like 150% of the borrowed amount. You need that in the collateral, so you can set it so that like using Autonomy, that once my collateral goes to like 160%, liquidate myself. And then you save on the liquidation fee, which like in some cases, I think in SushiSwap's like Cashew platform, it's like 12%.
Yeah.
So you're saving a lot of money by liquidating yourself. But because at that point you're the only one who can liquidate you, because you haven't got to the point where anyone can liquidate you yet.
Yeah.
There is no MEV opportunity, and so I think like over time, like all these lending platforms are going to slowly add like this self-liquidation feature, and I think like liquidations are going to essentially stop being like there won't be liquidation bots anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, the idea is that I guess you could liquidate yourself before you get to that threshold, even if you're within 1% of the threshold. Even if you've lost that extra 1% versus paying the 12% fee, it's definitely a better deal for yourself. So, how do you guys do that, right? How do you do the automated stuff? Do you guys essentially have bots or have some certain cron jobs running and watching once somebody creates a limit order? Or, I not sure how does that, I'm assuming it's an off-chain something that's watching one of the oracles or something like that. How does that work?
Yeah, so essentially, for example, you want to do a limit order, you sort of like wrap this like swap function with a required statement. Basically, like if you're trying to I don't know, when the price hits X, then execute. So you make one of these transactions and it sits on a registry, and this registry is constantly monitored by this decentralized network of bots. So anyone can run one of these bots, and essentially, they're constantly monitoring and simulating the transaction. If it's able to succeed, then they will execute the transaction. If not, it won't execute. Yeah, that's essentially the mechanics of how it works. Then there's the whole tokens or like payment side of things, where when you submit one of these transactions, you have to pay a small extra fee on top to incentivize these executors. And yeah, that's basically it.
That's interesting. Very cool. Yeah, it's I think that are these are the limit orders, these things, are they also decentralized? Are they on chain? Can people see the orders that you have? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? It would be, I'm assuming that data would be really valuable for traders, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so everything is on chain. We have a product addressing this, but it's not public yet. But you're right that all these things are public, and so that is valuable information, because like knowing that there's a bunch of like order support at like some price level is like valuable market information. In the case of limit orders, I think it's pretty much the same as like a centralized exchange where they have an order book, because like typically limit orders are public. I mean, you have some like you can have like hidden orders, but I feel like generally they're usually like public on the order book. The case of stop losses, however, is different, because like typically stop losses are not on an order book, and you don't really want to publish them because you can get stop hunted, where people like push it past that price level because they know that your stop will like force trigger. And so like that is a fair concern. I don't think it's an issue unless you're trading with like really large amounts, like tens of millions, because that's the point where if you force a trade, like the market movement as a consequence from your stop executing is enough to arbitrage, front run, etc. So for just like retail trading, I don't think it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But for the institutional clients, like it would be an issue.
Awesome. So, I mean, to our audience is a huge mix from people into NFTs to people who participate in DeFi and NFTs and things like that, to really technical people who build and things like that. From the autonomy perspective, what's sort of your main value proposition, I guess, and what's the thing you want to be promoting the most? Like, what are you doing right now in ETH Amsterdam? What's the most important thing that you guys as a company are doing there?
I'm just chilling, to be honest. I'm partied out. I'm conferenced out.
Well, you're there, and I know, Diego, you're heading there. So as a team, you guys are going, so participating in the hackathon, spreading the word on your SDK. I always want to know what we should be shilling to our audience as the main thing we need to be looking at, and what I need to be doing, research on and understanding and learning.
Yeah, I'd say that. Well, the reason that we're in Amsterdam is to participate in the hackathon and to create like a specific product at the hackathon, which we have not made public yet. But I mean, the hackathon's this weekend, so like we'll be tweeting about it like this weekend, I guess, when we publish it as part of the hackathon. So we'll have to. I mean, it isn't built yet. We'll have to do it at the hackathon. But I think it's a pretty like game changing product for a more institutional and kind of conservative audience. I don't know if that's the right word, but in general, I'd say like the main thing that I would say we should be known for is like limit orders and stop losses. It's
Gotcha.
like it's our most mature product. It's like, the most high value thing, the thing that's used most frequently, blah blah blah.
The from your guys' perspective, so you're primarily, as far as I know, or entirely EVM, right? So Ethereum and other EVM chains. From your perspective, ETH 2.0, where we're at right now with gas fees and everything like that. How do you feel about the sort of ETH community in general and building on ETH? I mean, I'm a not unapologetic fan of Tezos, for example, but I also love Ethereum and have built a ton on Ethereum, and I love this idea of a multi-chain world, because I don't think it would be like, it's silly to think there would only be one, in my opinion. But how do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about the current gas fees? I know you're building on I know you guys are building for EVM, so you're not only main chain. But how do you feel about people building right now on Ethereum, and how do you guys how do you justify to new teams wanting to build that don't really know the whole landscape, the gas fees and everything else going on?
Well, personally, I more of a chain agnostic, like don't really mind. And to be honest, we haven't really, put that much or like focused that much on Ethereum itself. We've worked more on like more of our products are live on AVAX, BSC, and so on for its cheaper, gas costs. But yeah, in general, the appeal with Ethereum is that there is a lot of value locked in there. So for example, we have this project we're trying to also showcase is like it's called Meta Dungeon. It's we have this like whole autonomous NFTs that sort of like fly to different wallets by itself. It's not owned by anyone. But yeah, essentially we're building it on Ethereum because we're able to sort of like bring NFT communities from other parts. Like now if you own a Bored Ape, then you have like let's say a power up. In order to, well, maybe I should take a step back, but basically Meta Dungeon is this in short is basically this sort of like boss that sort of jumps between wallets, and if you're able to catch it in your wallet, then you can fight it, and if you win, you sort of win this like prize pool. But yeah, essentially, we're able to pull from different communities and sort of like bootstrap a community ourselves as well from these other people. And so I think that's mostly the biggest appeal to build on Ethereum right now. But as for ourselves, we're not really fully just EVM. We actually, we're actually like have a couple solutions that are coming up soon for other non-EVM.
Interesting. Yeah. It's, to me, I think that I meet early stage startups all day long in my day job. And I think, that was one of you guys, right?
The engine.
Yeah. I got loud all of a sudden. Oh, no worries. I think that I meet early stage companies all the time, and it's interesting, right? Like on one hand, I think there's scaling opportunities. I'm not a huge fan of using a certain EVM because of low fees, right? Because I am a huge fan of decentralization, and BSC is not a decentralized chain by anyone's measure unless they're a liar. And but I understand why people would use a product on BSC, right? I still watch Amazon Prime and I buy things on the internet. Like, it doesn't mean that I won't use a product because it's not decentralized, but it's not the vision of our space and what we really want to do. And I don't think it's changing the world, right? So
sure.
that for example, why I'm a fan of Tezos. But I can't argue against people who say the value isn't there on Tezos, right? Like there is the speaking of NFTs, right? The best NFT communities on Tezos compared to the best NFT communities on Ethereum, not based on best in terms of actual best communities or best products. I'm talking about just value wise. The value is orders of magnitude larger on Ethereum, right? And same with DeFi. And you can say the same thing about other chains other than Ethereum. So that's the main reason, the business use case to launch on Ethereum. But in the future, as there's more and more bridges and more compatibility, and more EVM chains kind of fracturing and spreading and decentralizing the community, and decentralizing chains, I guess. Maybe that's not the right words, but I had a tall drink.
I know what you mean.
Outright, but I think that there's opportunities, right, in this fractured world that actually I think it makes some really interesting opportunities. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I agree. Although I think what's going to play out is I don't know what the right word for this, extremization, or Darwinism favoring the extremes. What I mean by that is like when you're building a dApp, unless you have some specific reason to choose a particular chain, because they gave you a grant or something, I don't know, whatever, there's a particular community, whatever. You typically either care about fees or decentralization. And I think over time, we're going to get to the point where if you want decentralization, you choose ETH. If you want like low fees and like high throughput, low confirmation times, etc., you would use something like Solana. And I think a lot of these chains that are kind of in the middle, like BSC, where they don't have decentralization, and their throughput is a bit better than ETH, but it's not that much better than ETH. It's really just because they're just jamming just as much as possible through the existing EVM chain, which we had issues with.
Yeah, man, BSC always gives me a headache, honestly. Anyways.
Yeah, but
every time somebody tells me to do something on BSC and I don't do it out of principle, and I've been doing this for a couple years now, or ever since BSC launched, I win the moral victory, but my wallet is much thinner than theirs. So who's really the winner of this argument, right? So there is I think there's those amongst us who are in this space for I think most of us are in this space for the right reasons, but there's opportunities this space affords us financially, that we sacrifice maybe sometimes in those sense, because like we all so I feel like I can't really judge, even though the reason why I don't participate is because I'm kind of judging, and then who's really the who gets the last laugh.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I share the same like kind of sentiment, and I've generally avoided like BSC, like personally. I mean, like for autonomy, like volume is volume, like activity is activity. We are not taking like any moral high ground by any stretch of the imagination, but what I cannot fault them for is like they have results. Like people, like there's a lot of activity on it. There's a lot of TVL, which is highly assisted by Binance themselves. But aside from that,
but again, I know we all choose to participate in completely centralized businesses and shop at certain places and buy cars from certain companies and do certain things. It's a choice, right? But I think we at least say we're here for the decentralization, say that we're here for the borderless world and all of this stuff. And you know what? Binance does do some crazy ass cool things in terms of the, sticking it to certain governments and things like that, which is, I think, from the sidelines pretty fun and interesting, but it's still not necessarily a decentralized player from most people's standpoint, I would assume, or I think at least. And maybe I'm biased and I don't know all the details, and I won't claim to be an expert. But that said, I'm, for those of you in the audience, I'm watching the chat, but throw any questions, any specific questions you have in the QA. I think that there's some interesting stuff here, and I know that we're sort of, I'd like to touch on all things development on EVM related, because I think these guys can help and us sort out any questions we might have. But you mentioned that you guys are building things for other chains and things like that. Do you want to tell us which chains yet, or is it still a big secret pizza party?
We can tell the chains is not the actual integrations, but Solana, Cosmos, and Terra. So.
And what was the last one?
Terra, like
Terra.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, those are coming up soon.
Very cool. I mean, I think all of those have significant liquidity and TVL on their dexes and on their chains, right? Is that the main? Are those sort of the main numbers and things that you look at, stats that you look at to decide whether to integrate another chain, or is there more to it?
Yeah, it's mostly like stats, like the volume, like our kind of number one metric for successful autonomy is like the number of requests made, like per day or per week or whatever, and like the volume traded, the value flowing through autonomy. And so yeah, I mean, they pretty much go together. And so you have top dexes like Radium, Astroport, the Osmosis, these kinds of things that are obviously like very attractive from like an integration standpoint. But not just them, like the ecosystem is being built kind of like as we speak. I mean, it's like very early stage, and especially like those chains. And so getting like a solid foothold from like a strategic point of view is a wise choice, like early on. And if you assume that these things are going to grow, which I think they are. Like, I don't have any reason to think they're not. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Also, in terms of resources, right? Like we have a bunch of Rust devs now, for building one solution, and then like why not, like these other like chains as well. It's a similar architecture, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jim is asking. I'm trying to paraphrase and fully understand the question. So, Jim is asking sort of, I guess his big question is why so many chains? Like trying to be Uber all chains, that is way cool, but maybe too much to conquer. So I guess Jim, let me know in the chat. Are you saying like why is Autonomy integrating so many chains, or why in general do so many chains exist? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. But I guess I'll ask you guys why branch off from the EVM chains at all if 90% of the liquidity is there.
I assume he means the first thing of like why are we going for all chains? Well, I mean, if you look at, for example, the top dexes by like volume, CoinGecko has a good list for doing that with. They're not all EVM chains. Like most of them are, like by volume, most of them are. But if you take out Uniswap, which accounts for anywhere between 30 to 50% of the volume, the volume of dexes on these other chains is it's not most, but I think it's somewhere between like maybe around 30 to 40%, probably closer to 40%. So the question of like why excluding Uniswap, of like why non-EVM is almost the same question of like why EVM and not non-EVM, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But as to like why so many chains at once, we have a conversation about like spreading ourselves a bit thin, because like hiring people to get this done is so challenging right now.
Hiring in general is challenging. Hiring engineers is crazy challenging, and then hiring blockchain devs is even more challenging.
Mate, Diego and I are sick to our eyeballs of the amount of interviews that we do.
Like before this, I had like 3-hour back-to-back interviews. Like
how big is your team right now?
Like 14 or 15, I think.
Yeah, 15, I guess, core, without counting like
mods and
more part-time stuff like mods and stuff like that. But yeah, 15.
It is well. Hey, Jim, do you want to come on screen? There's questions, and then one of the questions was somebody else saying, "Why isn't Jim just on the screen asking questions?" Which Jim is a community member of ours who we actually need to have on screen. We've had David join in and jump in. I feel like Jim and Crispin need to hop in.
Yeah, let's go. Come on in, Jim.
There was a famous moment. Jim is in New Zealand, and there was a famous storm thing that was happening in New Zealand where it got crazy hot, and most people where he lives don't have air conditionings. And I haven't let him live down the week where we went into tables after the chats, and he wasn't wearing a shirt. And I haven't let him live that down, and I keep bringing him up.
Can't blame him, man.
And Jim said, "Let me get my shirt." And now the whole community is going nuts. I do think, Jim, we should have a just thinking out loud here. And I know this is sort of I'm talking to myself because you guys don't see the whole chat, and only half of the audience maybe sees the chat because the other half or even more are watching on streams. But I'm telling the guys in the chat and that we should we definitely should do a maybe an episode or two where we have Crispin, Jim, David Rankin, BB Studios. I see you, Casey, who's here very regularly. There's so many regulars. We should do a community edition where like we have 10 people, and we should have you do that instead of the main conversation. It'd be a lot of fun. But Jim, click on that link, the StreamYard link I'm sharing in the chat. There's John D right there. I see Timed here also. They jumped into the link, but all I don't see a video. So if anybody has any questions for Autonomy, just laughing at John's comments. I guess it would be funny to have an hour of a live stream where I'm just laughing at everyone's comments, but nobody knows what we're talking about. See Jim, click on the link, dude. All right. So while he's trying to find us, this is turning into what I just said. I'm sharing the link again. Jim, you know what? I will support you in your decision to wear a shirt or not. Just click on the link. See, John already reposted the link. There you are, Jim. Hold on, I don't see your screen on. Here you are. Looking professional.
Nice.
I mean, I went to the park and flew a kite right before the thing, so I look like a crazy person. But you look, Jim. Oh, I can't hear you now. Dang it. Is your mic on? Do you have any weird setup? Can't hear you.
Well, at least he got the shirt on, so.
There you go. Oh,
Live
something.
show.
I heard a sound. Jim, you plugged something in. Are you there?
Well, at least he got the shirt on, so.
There you go. Jim, talk.
Live
Something.
show.
I heard a sound. Jim, you plugged something in. Are
Yes.
you there? I'm echoing. So turn off the Remo window, and I think we can hear you. Something. I heard a sound. Jim, you plugged something in.
Yes.
There?
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Hey, James. Hey, how is it in Berlin? I used to live in Germany, bro. I'm in New Zealand at the moment. So it's like 11, 12 in the morning, or you're still waking up. Yeah. So
It's yeah, I mean it's almost 3 a.m., but it's all good. I'm a night owl.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, because of daylight savings. Anyway, so I don't know. I was just trying to. I think Alon was saying, just to not paraphrase my question, but like if you're trying to go and do all the chains, and that will take like developers or a community on those to be like Uber of every chain for, and maybe that is your idea to give it gives more liquidity to lock the stop losses and stuff like that, which it would. I support, and I think that's super cool. But damn, I'm just like, damn, that's just like, damn, that's a lot of work. I mean, yeah, it's like, is it like conceptually you could whiteboard it and shit, but it's like, is it tenable? Like, it's just, or maybe you're like, well, we go after Uniswap and like you're saying, or CoinGecko, and then we've conquered 80% of the beast, and then, I don't know. Yeah, I'll shut up now. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, interrupt me anytime. But yeah, it's just like what Diego was saying. Well, for one thing, like all the EVM chains, like you just copy paste the same system essentially, and so it's not any extra effort. But in the case of like we started off with Solana, and like we have to do like chain specific stuff each time, but generally they're all in Rust, and like our developers like are very like familiar with the architecture at this point, and so it takes less time each time to support a new chain. We essentially have to build everything from scratch, but the
okay. So
architecture
let me just pick on. I'll just pick on Cosmos, for example. So it's just like bada bing, the archetype, the XML schema is there, and it's just like boom, and it's in Rust. So we just need to integrate. I think Diego was saying, then we just integrate with that chain, and we're off to the races. Is it that simple?
I mean
it's not.
The infrastructure of Autonomy, I think. Well, I mean, it's not super simple, but it's like once we've done it before, it's relatively simple. The most of the bulk of the work is in getting these integrations and like getting partners in these different ecosystems. So that's
yep.
But in the big picture of things, with stuff like layer 0 coming on, are we really building, like should we just build on one chain, or be sort of like the automation layer for this like multi-chain world, right?
That's a very good point or question. Yeah, and you're just struggling with that one. Yeah, that is maybe the crux of what you guys are facing. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's nice to talk to you guys. Thanks for coming on. Yeah, thank you, Alon. Yeah.
No, it's all good. Well, we got the last few minutes, so stick with me. Matt texted me. Matt, for those of you who don't know, is the I was going to say the director of events, but he's been upgraded to the COO of DGH. So he texted me, said said, heard you. I'm making sure Jim is guest on next week's episode. So I said, let's do an OG blockchain booze edition. And
I'll
speaking
do
of OGs,
that. I refer to Matt as Matt Bozo, and that's no offense to you,
How
Matt.
dare you?
And I'm sure you've had that since you were in elementary school. I'm sure he's like, yeah, been there, done that. And I've heard, here's to you, Jimmy Robinson. Jesus loves you more than you will know. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I know. So, Matt Bozo, I'll do it.
We have to ask Matt if that was a. See, I'm Alon, but Israelis say alone, and Americans hear it as alone, and then they go all alone, or Alon. They go like mow your lawn, Alon. Like so. There's all those, but he had to have the bozo.
Oh yeah, if I was 8 years old, I'd be like bozo.
Time.
All right.
Dude, what's your real name, by the way? You're in the community like every week, and we're long overdue for a hangout. Welcome to I brought you on screen. By the way, you're muted right now. John just said hi, Alan, to me, which is also a common one, but I just autocorrect that. That's not like an offensive making fun of me one. That's just somebody that doesn't know the pronunciation.
Wait, get this. I'll totally do it. I'm originally from New York City. I'll do this. Hey, trust me. I know Alan, and he's friends with Tim Draper. I know Alan, okay? All right?
No, if you're in New York,
I'm friends with Alan, and he knows Tim Draper, okay? All right. Yep. I know Alan. You don't know Alan, okay? Shut up. Shut up
I
your
think
face.
I know Alan, but I'm not sure. I might have met him before.
Anyway, all right.
What's up, Timed?
So my question was about the cross chain and how he was going to be able to use how we're going to use that. Like, did he need to get more developers, and what was he looking for? What was going on with that part of it? That made any sense.
On the hiring front, you guys are looking for more developers.
Developing community.
Like what kind?
Well, yeah. If you
do they work with like Slick?
If you look at their website, they're like they want a cross chain, like I think Cosmos. They're looking, and it's hard because
everyone.
Yeah, and it's like how I think his question is more like how is. Yeah, again, remember it goes back to my whiteboard thing. It's like, yep, super cool, but like, is like, God, you're like,
it's doable.
You're like grappling for talent, which is scarce. So, and I think that's what Tom is saying. Yeah,
I mean, but you said, guys, you constantly interviewing and stuff. So, are you getting a ton of applicants? It's just really hard to hire. Is there just too much competition in hiring? Is there not enough people? Is it a combination of both? Because I feel like
high demand, low supply, and
exactly. Yep.
And
everyone
quality engineers is the thing missing, right? So that's
yeah, because you could chuck all the money in the world, and maybe it's not really about money. It's like, is this a cool project? And it becomes more ethereal kind of thoughts from that person's point of view. Because it's hard. That's the hardest job in the world, hiring people. Yeah. I've done it. It's not fun, and it's so time consuming when you really just want to do your actual work. You just want to do the work.
We tried hiring a recruiter, but like even for a recruiter, that's even like less supply. Nobody wants to do that, I
think.
Yeah, they can make way more money being
insane. Guys, so we're running at the end of time, so I'm going to ask the guests to give us a plug. But right before we do that, I'm going to remind everyone, if you're watching on one of the streams, come hang with us on meet.blockchainbooze.io. And by the way, in the chat, they're crowdsourcing a new segment for the show called 90 Seconds with Jimmy, where we get Jim to just come on for 90 seconds and tell us something every week. We'll workshop that one. So James, Diego, where can we follow you guys, and what's the best link for?
I hope they meant 90 seconds with James, not Jim. Because he's got a better man bun than me. I can't do a man bun. That's like, I don't know.
You just gotta grow your hair. You got a good head of hair. You can grow your hair.
I believe in you.
It takes a minute. I've been trying. Like,
I know. I don't want to. I want to be like. I want to be like a. I want to be like a sensei. You know, and be like, yeah.
I do have a hair stick in it. Like if I.
Oh dang! See,
yeah,
but you have long hair. That's a full. You can't tell on me on video streams. Maybe this is why I've been avoiding real life. But it's thinning in the front, especially. I've got a few more years, and then I won't be able to do long hair anymore. So, we lost you timed. But James, Diego, give us a plug on where to follow you directly, but also where to follow Autonomy.
Twitter I think is the best place at Autonomy Network for for Autonomy. For me at James Autonomy.
Yeah, for me it's the Chewy, CHUI. But yeah, I actually have to jump off. But Alon, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, and I really appreciate you being here. Excited to have had you on. I really appreciate both of you guys being here. Like I said, for everyone else, meet.blockchainbooze.io, and I will be in New York in a couple weeks, or in about a month actually, for our event on May 16th. But for 2 weeks, basically, I'm going to be traveling, and we're going to do 2 Blockchain Booze editions on the road. So one of them may be from a super secret Draper Venture Network event where I'm going to maybe try to put Tim Draper in a headlock and do a live thing with him, or maybe one of the partners or people.
See, just like I told you, I'm Alan. It's Alan, and we're gonna get. He knows Tim Draper, and he's on the road.
I also need to know.
Event.
Am I gonna work up the guts? Somebody had this idea. Am I gonna work up the guts to do the theme song live as Punk Ape Strong with an audience? But then the week after, maybe Blockchain Booze live in New York, maybe with like a select audience.
If you can convince Tim to get out of his uniform and not wear a shirt for the virtual call, he won't do it. He won't do it.
We'll do it in the swimming pool at the hotel.
Won't do it.
Oh, VCon. Yeah. I think a lot of you will be at VCon, and what I want to say as well is that so there's going to be that event. There's going to be VCon. If any of you wanted to come to STS and you're one of the top community members, and I know who you are, so you can't play no games with me, DM me. I'll make sure you can join us at STS if you plan on being in New York. I'll throw this on one last time. At this point, if you're an hour into watching, you're probably one of the OGs. And so just hit me up privately and I'll make it happen for you.
That's
but
nice
regardless, let's spend some time at VCon for those of you who are going to be there. I see Casey is going to be there. John D is going to have, we're going to have a premium time at VCon. I know
with the vodka. Oh yeah. I know.
That's what I'm saying.
And Alan doesn't even drink that much, John. So
Alan kind of drinks a lot, but Alon doesn't. I start making
you're alto.
I'm gonna create a third persona, Alan Gordon, and he. Now, I'm not a big drinker at work-related events, which is ironic that I host Blockchain.
Well, you get too busy. You're lucky to even have a coffee or a tea because
I talk
everyone gets. No, I'm the same way. You get to talking so much. You don't eat. You don't eat. You don't even get.
That's true. It'll be like dinner time at these events. James, I know you're at an event. So start the morning. This is the move: is you have to start the morning early with a legit, real breakfast, or else you're destroyed. Like that's how I do it. I plan a breakfast meeting because 100%. If I'm not meeting somebody at the place to get breakfast, I probably won't show up. So you have to like make it a disciplined thing when you're traveling and doing events.
That's good counsel. Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Yep.
All right. So
it's the most important meal of the day, as you know, as your mother probably taught you. Yep.
So many great comments in the chat. All right, I'm going to end the stream. I will see you guys at the tables. James, thank you again for having me. Blockchain Booze number 108. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you on the other side.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.